I was sweating so hard, but yeah, this morning I felt a lot better. Still a little off, but I mean, feeling even better than I did this morning. So getting through it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yeah. And when I had COVID, it was crazy because I got COVID back in September, and at first I was like, I'm be honest with you, I didn't even think I had it. Like it, I didn't have flus worse than the COVID that I had.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, what's going on? Like I was coughing and coughing and coughing, and my wife, she was like, you got COVID. I was like, no, I don't. Like my wife had just bought this new fan, and I don't know what it was about that fan, but the fan blew good air, but it dried the air out like more so than any other fan that we had. So I'm like, man, it's this fan you done put in this room. I'm like, nah, I'm coughing because of this fan. Man, I went and got tested. I had COVID. She had COVID. Liam had COVID. The only one who didn't have COVID was Alana. So, oh yeah, man, it
Yeah,
was. Yeah, well, I know how you feel, but then later on, like then I started getting these little chills. Like it kind of felt like somebody was sticking my whole body with needles. It was really weird.
right.
And then I'm trying to think, but that only lasted for like a night. And I had that cough. I had a headache. Um, I think that was it. Mine wasn't too bad. So, you know,
Yeah, I got
as a
that.
matter of fact, my wife, because she was pregnant and she had COVID, so she was like really going through it. So I had to take care of her. I had to make sure Liam was straight, and then I had to take care of Alani because my wife was so sick. So I had to take care of Alani and make sure she stayed straight. So I think, I'm be honest with you, I think the fact that I had to take care of everybody didn't allow me to focus on my symptoms as much as had I not been able to take care of everybody. So that's probably what it was.
Yeah. It helps when you can break your mind off of it, and then
Yeah.
you put your mind on take care of someone else. But yeah,
Did they make
so
you
yesterday was.
you were saying what now?
Nah, go ahead.
I was about to say, did they still make you log in for work?
Sport was trying to talk me out of it, but I had my first big veterans meeting. I started well, I didn't start it, but I was founded the group. Like a veterans group at the company. And today was our first meeting,
Okay.
so I was like, this ain't the day I can call out. So I had to push through it.
Okay, good.
So it was painful, but just push through it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was sick the last few days. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm going to give the credit to me fasting because, and I was telling them yesterday, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm paying close attention to my body or whatnot, but when I started to get sick, I could literally feel, it was almost like the sickness was trying to take over, but I can actually feel my body like pushing it back. Like I was sick, but I don't think if I had been eating as good as I was eating and stuff like that, I would have been even more sick than I was. Like it was trying to take over, but I could feel my body fighting back. But I ended up losing my voice for a little bit. I still kind of lost it, but it's coming back now. But yesterday, man, I was headache, voice was gone, had this cough. It was crazy. When I got a COVID test and they said it was negative, but man, I felt terrible.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, it's a Georgia COVID test, so that's like 20% accurate.
Megaya, how you doing, man? I ain't greet you when you came on the call. How you doing today?
Yo, shalom, everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, no complaints, man. Just cooling. Just dropped off an order I had.
Oh, okay, good. How many orders you had? Just that one?
Yeah, one today, and I had dropped off two of them at the school. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Keep working, bro. Did you get a chance to talk to your cousin after the last call he was on?
Yeah, I talked to him.
How
I tried to call him today. My nephew, but yeah, I had talked to him. I tried to call him today to try to get him to get on, but his phone kept going straight to voicemail.
Oh, okay. What did you thought about it?
He said it was amazing. Like, he's 16. Well, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Like, he's young, so he in the 10th grade. He's 16 in the 10th grade and all. So like I just told him, I want to be able to have him and anybody else he knows possibly reach out to you too. You know what I mean? I know
Okay.
he probably, like I told him, can't get on all the time, however, but you know what I mean? I just want him to know like that he got people, you know, that he can reach out to.
Yes, sir.
When I had him down here in Georgia, man, back in 2016 or so, you know what I mean? Like shit, he was clinging to me, like he was around me, a lot of the brothers, and then he, you know, went off to other family members and all, and of course they ain't got the same face. And it just been real rough for him. And like I told him, you know what I mean, just always go back to your source. I mean, things get rough, you know what I mean? Like, hey, go back to your source, get back grounded in that. And I told him that's what we here for, you know what I mean? Like you got elders, you know what I mean, that you can reach out to.
Yes,
You
sir.
and your friends, like y'all need to talk about certain stuff. You know what I mean? Like you got that line of connection where you ain't gotta be off, you know, going off doing stuff on your own.
At all. And it's important to do that and have that, and the most important, just listen to it, because man, yeah. We all got stories, man. You were saying what, Alex?
Yeah. I was gonna say, even what you was talking about the other day, if you was at that age, you had just like the little bit of information you get from this book that we read, not even the fellowship, but just that leadership from the book at the same time, just that outside perspective. But and to let alone see people going through it and see people that are elders going through it and working together to get through it. So
Sure.
I mean, that's life changing stuff, life building stuff.
Yeah.
True.
Like man, it's just so crazy how like we make decisions when we were younger, and this is what I'll be telling people, like the Most High don't care about your age. Like the decisions you make in your life, they affect your life, and it's society that care about your age. Like the universe don't care about your age. Like at the end of the day, right is right and wrong is wrong, and you got to make the right decisions. And I remember my junior year in high school, I went to a private school. I went there and I played basketball. And so I was on the basketball team. It was a really good team. Started getting all these looks from a whole bunch of different high D1 schools. Played on a really great AAU travel basketball team or whatnot. And I went there because of basketball. I went there to play basketball. And so me being young and dumb and naive and girl crazy, I just, I can't do this. Like, I can't be here. This is da-da-da-da. And really what the real issue was I had a little girlfriend at the time, and she was trying to break up with me because she felt like she was competing with basketball and she didn't want to. So now I wasn't fond of playing basketball growing up, but I was still making do. But this kind of pushed over there because I like, I'm smelling this, you know what I'm saying? This, I'm getting me some and all this and that. And basically, whenever I want it, so I can't mess this up. So I just decided, hey, I'm done with this or whatever. I made a promise. Hey, once I'm done with playing in high school, I'm done. But then I wanted to be closer to her because we was only seeing each other like on the weekends. Because I was at games and stuff, practice, all of that. So I really could only see her on the weekends until the off season hit. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to school with her. I'm gonna transfer to her high school. So my head coach, he was a very, very, very wealthy man. My head coach, he was a very wealthy man. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade, but he ended up making something very well of himself, got into real estate. And at the time when I was in high school, he was worth $30 million. And I remember beginning my senior year, I went back to the private school to begin my senior year. And I remember he pulled me in his office. And he called me to his office because his office was like off campus. He called me up there and he was like, because he had heard that I wanted to leave. So he called me to his office. He was like, look, man, I don't want you to leave. You're a great part of this team. And I had like the season before I was all state selection. Just had a lot of colleges interested in me. I got some scholarship offers, all of that. So he was like, you're a great part of the team. We need you. We can make a state run with you. Da, da, da. And I'm the big man. At the time, I'm 6'8". I'm the big man. Top 100 players in the state of Florida, all of that. So he was like, nah, like you can't leave. So he called me in his office. He was like, I'll give you whatever you want. What is it that you want? What is it going to take for you to stay here? And I was like, man, I can't be here. The school is not my type of, part or whatever. But really in my mind, I'm trying to get closer to this girl. So he was like, I'll give you a job here working with me. And so a couple of my other teammates, they worked with my coach at his office. And I was like, oh, I'm straight. He was like, wow. I was like, man, I see what you do with the other players. I don't, what I'm saying? I don't want that. Like, I don't want to be just making copies and stuff like that. And he was like, no, I won't have you doing. He said, you come in, you work with me. I will take you under my wing and teach you how I do what I do, how I invest in real estate, how I do this. And I was like, nah, coach, I'm good. Like an idiot, idiot. And that decision right there still, like, it don't haunt me. It's just something that's a constant reminder to, like, always understand that your decisions have impacts on your life. Even though I was like, 17 at that time, like I was still a child, like that decision impacted me because now that's a piece of information I didn't have that could have changed the trajectory of my life, my family's life, my children's life. Like I could have went a different path in life had I went underneath his wing and took that information, because he was willing to do something for me outside of basketball. But that decision, was something that was made, and I still got to live with that to this day. So the universe don't care how old you are. Your decisions are your decisions, and they impact your life. So that's one of the main things that we got to get through to the youth. Like, some of your decisions you make when you're young, they're young and dumb, but you can't make life-altering mistakes, life-altering decisions. But yeah, that's my little rant. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 8:19. I want to thank everybody for being on the call today. For those of y'all who were not on before, I'm getting over a little sickness, so my voice is not all there. I'm still pushing through it. For those of y'all who are watching this at a later date, I want to thank you all for being on the call. I want to thank you all for viewing this video. This is Infrastructure of a Man's presenting Setting Your Intentions. This is session number 18, gentlemen. We've been going at this thing 18 days straight. I appreciate everybody who's been here, pushing through, going through with it. Because at the end of the day, this thing is to make sure that we get to where we need to get to. So for those of y'all who do not know, I am Virgil Johnson. I'm an author, public speaker, consultant, husband, and a father. I have 2 works that are on Amazon right now that you can go and purchase. The first one is a book that I wrote titled Making Your Enemy Your Footstool, How to Use the American System to Your Benefit as a Black individual in America. And the second one is a journal. It's called the Garden Bed of Life Journal. Both of those works, like I stated, are on Amazon to purchase. Infrastructure of a Man, who are we? Infrastructure of a Man is an organization and a consulting business that works with men to help them overcome mental blocks and stuck points. We also help men restructure their ideas as well as help them create new ideas. We work together to form a support system where men can go to be understood, supported, as well as have an accountability group that will encourage one another to achieve the goals that they have set forth for their life. Our aim is to ensure that real men prevail. So, gentlemen, we're going to jump right into it today. Topic: crafting our prayer, crafting our intention, crafting what it is, knowing exactly what to ask for, and what we want to be open when it comes in our lives from the Creator. So the reason why I'm doing this today is the whole reason why we're doing the fast, just a reiteration. The reason why we're doing the fast is to show the Most High that we're giving a sacrifice for something that we want. So we want to go to the universe, the Most High, Yah, Allah, God, Lord, whatever we call them. We want to go to our spiritual entity and say, hey, I've sacrificed this. Now, can you open up the doors for this to happen for me? So I want to talk about how to craft that prayer specifically, so that way we can get exactly what it is that we want. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to start here. Why must we be specific in our prayer? With a specific request, we can better see the answer. When you pray specifically, you can see more clearly when and or what it is that the Most High is answering your prayer with. When you know Yah has clearly answered your prayers, your faith is strengthened, giving you the confidence to ask Yah to do more. I want to read a quick example of a specific prayer in scripture, so that way, like, we understand what specifics are. A lot of times we pray to the universe, we pray to Yah, we pray to God, we pray to our Creator, and we're very general. And we do that because, honestly, we're afraid to get what it is that we want. Like, we want it, but we're afraid of seeing that power actually working because we're not used to wielding that power. So we aren't specific. And because we're not specific, we get whatever back, and then we kind of get upset. But it's kind of like this double-edged sword. So I'm gonna read Judges 6:36 through 40. For those of y'all who aren't familiar with what we're talking about, this is the story of Gideon. And those of y'all who know Gideon was a judge in Israel. He delivered Israel from Micaiah. Help me out. Who was it? Was it the Midianites? I might be wrong. Can't remember. But he delivered them from an enemy. I can't remember which enemy it was at the time. But the Most High came to him and said, you're going to be the one that leads Israel in battle to defeat your enemies. And so he was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. But then he came to the Most High, and this is what he said. Give me 1 second here. I pulled up the wrong version. I don't want to read King James Version. Book of Judges, chapter 6, starting at verse 36. All right. Then Gideon said to Elohim, if you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said, behold, I am laying a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece alone, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said. And it was so. When he rose early the next morning and squeezed the fleece, he wrung enough dew from the fleece to fill a bowl with water. Then Gideon said to Elohim, let not your anger burn against me. Let me please let me test just once more with the fleece. Please let it be dry please let it be dry on the fleece only, and on all the ground let there be dew. And Elohim did so that night, and it was dry on the fleece only, and only on the ground was there dew. Now, we saw how specific Gideon got with his request. Gideon asked specifically, he said, I need proof that this is what it is. Like, I need proof that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. A lot of times we get crazy ideas in our head and we like, is this something that the universe wants me to do? Is this something that y'all wants me to do? Is this something that my creator wants me to do? Or is this something that my head just made up? Or is this something that another entity gave me? So Gideon, in his confusion, he said, I'm gonna go straight to the source. And I'm gonna ask the source to do something so specific that I know that it's him telling me to do this. That's how specific you gotta be in your request. So that way you know exactly what entity is sending it to you. That way it's not broad, it's not general, it's not just out there all over the place. No, it's very specific. So he said, hey, make only the fleece wet and let the rest of the ground be dry. And that is exactly what happened. And then for confirmation, he turned around and said, let the rest of the ground be wet and the fleece be dry. And that's what happened. And I want y'all to notice something. He asked these things, and never once did the Most High ever get mad at him for asking. Never once did the Most High get mad at him for testing the faith. Never once did the Most High come to me and say, but you don't believe me? You don't believe I told you this? No. He said, okay, you want this request? Here you go. Oh, you want another request? Here you go. The Most High wants you to ask him. We're going to get into that in a little bit. The Most High wants you to ask him. That's what he wants. He wants you to ask. So that way you can be locked in on the target. So when it comes to what it is that you're asking for, be specific so that way you can be locked in on the target. So the Most High wants you to ask for things. I just said that. So I'm going to read a couple of verses here just so we can understand, like, because there's some, I don't know where this has come from. I do know where this comes from, but there's some type of teaching out or thought process or belief that we're not allowed to question things or ask for things. Like, we just got to just take whatever's given to us. And that's the furthest from the truth. So I'm going to start off with Isaiah 7:11. And this is King Ahaz. King Ahaz was going to battle, and he didn't know if he was going to win the war. So the Most High came to him, and the Most High came to him through the prophet Isaiah. And here's what the Most High said. I'm sorry. This is what the Most High said to King Ahaz. And again, Yah spoke to Ahaz, ask a sign of me, your Elohim. Let it be deep as hell, or deep as Sheol, or high as heaven. So the Most High didn't say, hey, just ask something random. No, he said, let it be specific. Like, let it be as deep, let it go down as deep as Sheol or the pit or death, or let it go as high as heaven. So the Most High came to him and said, ask of me a sign. He didn't come to him and say, hey, why are you questioning me? I told you this was going to happen. Why don't you not believe me? No, he said, ask me a sign. And he gave him a specific on how detailed to get with it. Here go another example. We're going to go to 2 Kings, chapter 20, verse 8. And I just want to reiterate to y'all how important it is to be specific when you approach the Creator about what it is that you want. You got to be specific. If you're not specific, then you might not get what it is that you wanted. You might get something different, and then you'll be upset, and you can't be upset at anybody else but yourself. So verse 8, and Hezekiah said to Isaiah, what shall be the sign that Yah will heal me, and that I shall go up to the house of Yah on the third day? And Isaiah said, this shall be the sign to you from Yah, that Yah will do the thing that he has promised. Shall the shadow go forward 10 steps or go back 10 steps? And Hezekiah answered, it is an easy thing for the shadow to lengthen 10 steps. Rather let the shadow go back 10 steps. And Isaiah the prophet called to Yah, and he brought the shadow back 10 steps, by which it had gone down on the steps of Ahaz. So that right there, very, very, very specific. They didn't say, oh, I don't know. They didn't say, oh, let whatever. No, they got the shadow moving 10 steps. They didn't say, oh, just let the shadow move. No, they said, let the shadow move 10 steps. And the shadow went back 10 steps. That's why you got to be specific, because anybody could just, what's the old saying, y'all? You throwing something at the wall until it stick. That don't breed confidence. That doesn't breed the type of faith that the Most High wants you to have, which is concrete faith. The Most High wants us to have concrete faith, not blind faith. That's why he's saying, asking me a sign, and he's saying being specific. Because if you're specific in what it is that you're asking for, that's concrete, that's solid. That's something you can build on. But if you just walk around with your eyes closed, you can't build on something. You can't shoot. You can't aim for something in the dark. You ain't going to necessarily hit it. You might get lucky, but which one you think is better? Something that's built on concrete, or something that's aimed for in the dark? And the last thing I want to read here, and this is coming from the prophet Yehoshua, or as most people call him, Jesus. He said, very specific, Matthew 7 and 8, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open for you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be open. So even Yahushua, the prophet, tells us right there, if you just ask for it, be specific about what you're asking for. Whatever you're asking for, whatever door you want open is going to open for you. Whatever you want to receive, you're going to receive. But the key to that is to be specific about what it is that you're asking for. So you have to be specific in what it is that you want the Most High to give you. Remember to include your sacrifice. Now we're going to go into crafting. our intentional prayer that we're going to, or our asking, or, our requests. We're going to go into that. Remember to include your sacrifice as well as the reason that you need what you are asking for. So remember what you're asking for. You want it to serve a bigger purpose. And yes, there's some things that we want selfishly, and that's okay. You can want things for yourself. We all have wants. We all have desires. You can want things for yourself, but make sure that in wanting things for yourself, can it be beneficial for others? And if it can, make sure you throw that in there. You want to, entice as much as possible. Like you want to really be able to open this thing up so you can achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. So we want to prepare for your prayer. So preparing yourself physically, washing yourself. Now, before you go to the Most High, you want to wash yourself. For those of y'all who are in the Christian faith or know about the Christian faith or are familiar about the Christian faith, you have a thing called a baptism. Now, most Christians believe, okay, you go, you get dunked under the water, and then you come up and you really only supposed to get baptized once. Some Christians feel like you get baptized multiple times, but most Christians don't know the origin of baptism. Baptism actually come from an older tradition, which was called a mikvah. A mikvah was a spiritually represented bath. So what would happen is before you went into the temple, you would go, and here's a slight picture of one version of a mikvah. You would go and you would allow the priests or the Levites to dip you into the water and bring you up. What that did was that physically cleaned you, because at this time, these individuals lived in the desert. So they walked around, they got very dusty, dirty, and before you went for the Most High, you had to be clean. So it physically cleaned you, but then what it also represented was you being spiritually clean before you went before the Most High in the temple. That's where the baptism came from. But as time went on and things evolved and changed, and people moved away from the temple and they still were trying to do things, then you have other practices that came along, which is what the baptism is. But the baptism originally came from the mikvah bath that individuals would take every single time before they went into the temple or went before the Most High. So we're going to talk kind of about that. And for those of y'all who are familiar with the Islamic walk, you have what is called wudu. Wudu is a spiritual cleanse that you do to yourself prior to you doing your fast. As we know, most Muslims practice the prayer 5 times a day, making salah or salat. Prior to making salat, you have to make wudu. Wudu is you cleaning yourself. Now, the reason why we want to make sure we do this before we go and make our requests known to the universe, to the spiritual realm, to the Most High, to the Creator, to God, to Yah. Before we do this, the reason why we want to do this is what this is going to do. Is yes, I'm physically cleaning myself. So we're going to walk through the steps of the wudu. Now, with actual wudu, there's a few other steps here, but I want to take the cleansing part so that way you can have a foundation. If you don't know, hey, what should this cleansing look like? I didn't do the other part of sayings and things that you say as well when you make wudu, but I just took the actual cleansing part. Now, what you're doing when you're doing this is as you're washing your hands 3 times. So you start off with washing your hands 3 times, beginning with the right hand. Then you move to washing your mouth out 3 times. Then you want to rinse the insides of your nostrils 3 times each. Then you want to wash your face 3 times. Then you want to wash your hair, your head. If you have hair on your head, you just run your hand through your hair on your scalp, wash it, get it good. Then you want to wash your arms 3 times each, beginning with the right arm from your fingertips all the way up to your elbow. You're going to make sure your entire arm is covered in water, wash it off, and then you want to wipe your head once, clean your inside of your ears with your finger, your thumb, and then behind your ears as well. Getting all of the dirt and dust and debris off of you. Now, physically, you're cleansing the dust and dirt off of you before you go before your Creator. But what you should also be doing in this is removing negative thoughts, removing anything that doesn't align with what it is that you're going and you're asking for. And we're going to touch on why this is important a little bit later. But As you're washing this off, yes, you're physically washing off the dirt, but what this is symbolic of you removing these things from your vessel as well, removing negative dirt and debris from your actual vessel. That's why it's important that you do these practices. See, what happens is a lot of times what has happened over the course of time is people have forgotten the intention of the practices. So they feel like, oh, the practices aren't important, but they are, because they represent something deeper. So you doing this cleanse is supposed to remind you, hey, let me remove these negative thoughts, because guess what? And we're going to touch on this later. Your thoughts, your conscious mind imprints thoughts onto your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is what is going to be communicating with the creator. So if you still got those negative thoughts on your subconscious, that's what you're putting out into the universe. And guess what? That's what the universe is going to bring back to you. So it's very important that you get rid of these things. That's why you want to do this, because it's a reminder to cleanse your thoughts, cleanse your mind, cleanse all of these things out of you, and go before the creator pure in thought, pure in mind, pure in intention, to ask for what it is that you're asking for. So the prayer. So first thing I want to touch on, I don't know if you all have read, what's the title of this book? Give me 1 second here to pull it up. I'm not sure if y'all have read Feeling is the Secret. It's a book by Neville Goddard. Not sure if y'all have read it, but in this book, he touches on committing to making the things that you want come to be by using feeling. So some of these things are going to come from this. So in your prayer, you have to first remember or realize all things evolves out of consciousness. This is why we want to clear our minds. The creative process begins with an idea, and its cycle runs its course as a feeling and ends in a volition to action. That's very important. So how you feel, your mind just understands how you feel. Your feeling is your perception, and that becomes your reality. So whenever you have a creative process that you want to start, the creative process that we're talking about is the intention that we want to come to be. So for instance, Alex, a couple of your creative processes that you want to come to be is paying off your bills, paying off your 2 car payments at the end of this 365 days, and then being more on the spot ready to lead congregations and lead prayers and things like that. Malak, not Malak, I'm sorry, Makaya, your intention that you want to be in your creative process is to get your juice business up and go and get you a brick and mortar. Everybody has something different. Everybody has something that they're doing, and it starts with the creative process in the conscious of our mind. Next is a sensation. The sensation precedes manifestation, and it is the foundation upon which all manifestations rest. I've said this plenty of times before. When we're envisioning ourselves doing what it is that we want to do, you have to put yourself in that position, in the first person, and you have to literally feel it. You have to smell what that area, whatever it is, that day that you're there, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? What are you seeing? Like, what's your emotions? That's why, Alex, when I asked you, when you get that title, what does the paper of that title from your vehicle feel like when you pay it off? Is it a thin feeling? Is it a thin piece of paper? Is it a thick piece of paper? When you open it up, are you smelling the glue on the envelope, or are you smelling the ink on the paper? Like, you have to know these things, because as you start feeling these things, it's going to connect that to whatever it is that you're trying to do, and it's going to make the intention stronger, because now you are going to want to feel that feeling. You're going to want to fulfill that feeling. So that's why you want to make sure that you feel it, like put the sensation there, because it's going to make it more real. The more real you make it now, the more real it will become later. So in order, how we want to do this thing, you want to cleanse yourself. If you want to do the steps in the voodoo that we did, do that. Then you want to tap into the emotion of your request. So before you actually go make your request, like, tap into it, like, give yourself time, meditate, sit, and don't just think about it, but actually feel it. Like whatever it is you're trying to do, feel that thing. Feel it. Mikaya, you want that brick and mortar? Feel the bricks on your fingers and like feel yourself running your hand down your brick, down your building that you own or that your business is in. And what does that brick feel like? Like feel the grooves in the wall. Feel the nicks that your finger gonna feel when a part of the sharded concrete is sticking out. Like feel that. Like see yourself running your hand up against the wall. Don't envision yourself looking at you running your hand against the wall. No, picture you, eye view, looking at the wall, running your hand down the wall. What does the cups inside of your restaurant feel like? When you turn that blender on, then blend somebody's drink, what does the pulses on that blender feel like? Like you got to imagine all of this. Is the AC on? Is the AC off? Are you sweating because you're working hard? Like, what is the keypad on your register feel like? Or are you swiping, taking all debit cards, credit cards? How does what's the sound of somebody swiping their credit card? Like you got to be able to imagine all of that. You got to be able to imagine all of that, so that way you know the creator knows exactly which direction to send you. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that's what he wants you to do. We read it earlier, how detailed he wants you to be, so that way he can give you exactly what you want. He don't want you to be vague about it. No, he wants you to be detailed so he can send you down that path. But if you don't know what the path feel like, look like, then when you go to it, when you go ask for it, he's just gonna send you down whatever. And then you're gonna be upset because it's not what you thought it was. But you really didn't think anything because you didn't get detailed enough. So you want to make your request known to the Most High in your expressed feelings. Cry if you have to. And I want to show y'all how important crying is. This is why it's important for men to cry. It is very important for men to cry. I'm gonna let y'all know, man. Like I used to be one of the men that I ain't cry for nothing, didn't know how to cry. Even if I wanted to cry, couldn't cry. Excuse me, and I still kind of struggle with it. But I'm gonna tell y'all this. Every single time I've cried and asked for something, I've gotten it. Tell y'all a quick story. Went through a little situation with a young lady, and it broke me down or whatever. And I remember sitting in my bathroom, and I remember boo-hoo crying and going to the Most High and making a request on the type of woman that I wanted, specific type of woman that I wanted. Like, man, I don't want to deal with this other. I don't want to deal with none of that. This is what I want. And I was crying as I was doing, like I was hurt. And maybe 30 minutes later, maybe I get a call from one of my Hebrew brothers. And he's like, hey man, what you doing? I was like, hey man, I'm just sitting here at the apartment, da da da. And then he was like, you straight? Because he had knew about the situation. I was like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, man, don't worry about that. You'll be straight. And he said, hey, have you ever thought about trying to talk to Melissa, which is my wife? And I said, well, no, I haven't thought about trying to talk to Melissa because I've been dealing with someone else. So no, my focus has not been on another woman. And he was like, oh, I said, and plus you got a boyfriend. He's like, nah, they broke up. They broke up months ago, man. He said, I know her, I know you. Y'all two great individuals. I think y'all will do well for each other. Y'all both are looking for the same things. Y'all both are tired of games and stuff. Y'all should, really try to get together. I was like, nah, man, I ain't worried about that. I'm not worried about the woman right now. I know already been through something crazy. He's like, bro, I got you. And he introduced us. We exchanged phone numbers. And not even 21 days later, we ended up married. And we've been married going on 3 years next month, and we have 2 children together. So I know the power of crying and what it does in your life. Like I could go through quite a few stories in my life where I've actually got to the point where I cried. And when I asked for something in that cry, I got it. But I'm going to go to scripture real quick. The book of Exodus, chapter 2. Where we at? Verse 23. Excuse me, y'all. During those many days, the king of Egypt died, and the people of Israel groaned because of their slavery, and they cried out for help. Their cry was rescued from slavery. Their cry was to be rescued from slavery, came up to Elohim, and Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And Elohim saw the people of Israel, and he knew them. And then later on, he starts going through, and that's when he gets Moses and he gets the children of Israel out of Egypt. So the fact that they cried out and that got his attention, and he remembered the covenant that he had with them, and then he delivered them from what it was that they asked for, goes to show you the power of crying. So it's important that if you need to drum up some feeling or emotion, cry. Figure out how to get to that level and cry. Then after that, you want to give thanks in advance for the completion of your request. You want to make sure, when we talked about this earlier, write out, be extremely detailed about what it is that you're asking for. And then afterwards, you give thanks in advance for the completion of your request. So you want to make sure that when you give it thanks, you give thanks for making this, for allowing this, or for this being. Don't give thanks for it going to happen, for him making it happen in the future. No, give thanks as if it was already here and that you're doing it. And then begin living your life as if your prayer had been answered. That's how you have to do it. Begin living your life that way. So, for instance, Micaiah, if you want a brick and mortar building, know what brick and mortar building you want. And then every day you go to that brick and mortar building like that's your building. Every single day you go to that brick and mortar, or whatever days you're going to be working. If maybe, because some businesses I know they ain't open every day. Maybe you're only going to have yours open on Sundays or Saturdays and whatever. Whatever days you're going to be open, go to that brick and mortar every day. Go to that brick and mortar every day. Alex, you drive around like the car already paid off. That's how you act. You drive around like the cars are already paid off. What are we working toward now with that money? And then you start taking some money and putting it toward what it is that you're working with next. That way you can keep doing what it is that you need to be doing. And then P.S., if you need to light some incense, frankincense, myrrh, do that during your prayer time. Light that. Make sure it's lit up. Make sure it's good. Make sure you got everything there on whatever incense that works for you. But I do know Scripture says the Most High's favorite incense or favorite scents are frankincense and myrrh. So that's why I put that there. But whatever works for you, put that there. And then just get yourself in that mind and really go into the fifth dimension, gentlemen. Like put yourself like you're already there as you're asking for it, and ask for it with confidence. Like don't go scared, don't go timid, don't go shy. Like no, go and ask. Like when we read earlier in Isaiah 7:11, here's the crazy thing. The Most High told King Ahaz to ask for what it was that he wanted. And Ahaz asked for, and Ahaz said, I will not tempt you. Now the Most High is telling him to ask specifically and to make it specific. And he said, I'm not going to test you. And the Most High said, well, fine then. Since you don't want to ask, this is what I'm going to give you. And that goes back to what we talked about. If you're not specific in what it is that you ask for, the Most High going to give you something. And you might not like it. And you might not think that that's what you should have gotten. But if you ain't specific about what you're asking for, then you're going to get what the universe is going to give you. So make sure that you're specific in what it is that you want. That way you can have what it is that you're desiring. So I want to give an example of this process right here in Scripture real quick. I want to give an example. And then after I read this, I want everybody to take a few moments and just craft out their prayer that they want to ask specifically. Like after your fast is over with, craft out, what am I going to ask for specifically? How's it going to look? And the great thing about this is when we did our SMART goals, we did our SWOT analysis, all of that, we got specific in it. So most of it should already be there, but ask specifically. So I'm going to read this 1 Samuel 1, 9 through 20 really quick. After they had eaten and drank in Shiloh, Hannah rose. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat beside the doorpost of the temple of Yah. She was deeply distressed and prayed to Yah and wept bitterly. And she vowed a vow and said, O Yah of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your servant and remember me and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to you all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. So I want y'all to see real quick. She was very specific. She didn't just say, hey, give me a baby. She said, no, I want you to remember me, not forget me, look upon me, and give me a servant. So she was very specific, and she did it while she was in an emotional state. It says she was weeping bitterly. Verse 12, and she continued praying before Yah. Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart. Only her lips were moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman. And Eli said to her, how long will you go on being drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered, no, my master. I am a woman troubled in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before Yah. Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman, for all along I have been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation. Then Eli answered, go in peace, and the Elohim of Israel grant your petition that you have made to him. And she said, let your servant find favor in your eyes. Then the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. They rose early in the morning and worshiped before Yah. Then they went back to the house of Ramah, and Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and Yah remembered her. And in due time, Hannah conceived and bore a son. And she came and she called his name Samuel, for she said, I have asked for him from Yah. That right there is everything lined up exactly. She went to the Most High with a specific request. She asked down to the detail what she wanted. She did it from her feelings and from her emotions. She was crying. She was vexed. She was full of anxiety. Like she was full of like she poured her emotions into it. Then she told Eli that she had a request. And remember, we talked about that earlier. Tell other people what it is that you're looking for. Eli was the priest. So once Eli saw, hey, she has this request. Remember, we talked about this a few days ago. You tell other people what you want. She could have easily been like, oh, I'm so sorry, and left and ran out. But what happened? No, she told Eli that she had a request. And once he saw how serious she was in her request, what did he do? Hey, we're gonna go ahead and make this thing happen. And then here's what we have to get out of this. Verse 18, it says, after that, he said, go in peace. Go in peace, and the Elohim of Israel grant you your petition that you have made to him. So we get down to verse 18, and what did she say? Then the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. She walked as if it had already happened. She was no longer sad. She wasn't upset that she didn't have a son anymore. She got up and she realized, no, I'm going to get what it is that I asked for. So she started acting as if she already had it. She changed her mindset, and she walked as if she already had it. And guess what? What did it say? The Most High remembered her and remembered what she asked for. And in due time, he gave it to her. That's why it's important to be very specific. That right there. That's everything summed up, wrapped up right there. So real quick, I want everybody to take a few moments and craft out your prayer. Now, you may not get it all done right now, but I still just want to give you all a few moments to at least get it started. Start it now. We're not going to procrastinate. Remember, a lot of us, we wait now. We don't want to wait. We want to get this thing hammered out right now, or at least get it started. And then we want to follow through and complete it if we need to complete it later on. But get started what it is your prayer is. Write that down. Get it started. Take a few moments, and then we're going to move on. And just a reminder, I'm sorry, make sure in your prayer request, you put, hey, you start off with, of course, you start off with giving thanks. And then you say, hey, I've sacrificed these things. This is what I've sacrificed. And I want you to make this right here specifically happen for me. Because you are who you are and because of my sacrifice. All right, y'all. So if you need more time to finish up, of course, you can finish up after the call, finish up later this evening, or just make sure you hammer that out. Then you get everything set up how you need to set it up to make your request known to the universe. And that way you could go ahead and get done what you need to get done. So now we're going to jump into our 21-day fast. Gentlemen, we are in day 17. Today was day 17 of the fast. We have day 18, day 19, day 20, day 21. We got 4 more days after today left of the fast. Finish this fast out strong, gentlemen. We got 4 more days left. After the 21st day, you want to go to the Most High with this prayer that we just created and say, hey, I'm here. Now, before you break your fast, make sure that you do this. Make sure that you put your prayer out there. I can't remember if I mentioned it to you all or not, but I did a teaching on what fasting and prayer is and the importance of it. And fasting clears out your mind. It clears out your body. It does that cleansing that you're looking for on the internal side, but also your brain, like I told y'all before, has what's called the reticular activating system in it. And the reticular activating system is what filters through to your mind the things that you feel are pertinent to your survival. So what happens is when your reticular activating system, your mind is clear, when you go and you ask for something, your reticular activating system starts filtering to you the things in which you're asking for. And voila, your prayers are answered. Because now you start taking in information and knowledge and resources and help that you may not necessarily have been paying attention to before. And it's because your reticular activating system was opened up. And that's how the Most High answers your prayers. So make sure that before you break your fast, whatever you're fasting from, you go and you take your prayer. So the last thing we have here, we're going to do our reading. Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper. We're going to do our reading. Yesterday we didn't read the entire chapter that we started. Let me see here. Pull it up. I honestly can't remember yesterday, gentlemen. It was a blur. I was on vitamins and sleeping medicine, and so I can't really remember what I read yesterday. I'm gonna be honest with you. But for those of y'all that were on yesterday, you kind of remember. Hold on one second. Let me see what this chapter is about. Okay, so this is about making decisions, proper decisions. Let me actually see what the title of the chapter is. Mistakes. That's the name of this one. So he was talking about sexual mistakes and all the things they could do. Not just having a baby, but other things that could happen from sexual mistakes. He talked about his time when he made a mistake in college, having sex with a girl without any protection. We weren't properly prepared, and he called it STD. I think it was just chlamydia or something. Not just chlamydia, but it was chlamydia. But he was able to be healed of that. And he was just, telling him his experience. So I think he's going to transition into all types of mistakes now. So that's where we're at now. So I'm on page 229. There is a particular accident from my childhood that I will never forget, and I want to share it because the experience provided to me that some mistakes are permanent. And I tell you this story so that you don't have to make permanent mistakes like I have made, such as this one. I was 12 years old, and it was Christmas break. My older brother Harry and I were on my grandfather's farm in Iowa for the holiday. We both loved the Dallas Cowboys, and we were proudly wearing our jerseys. Our older cousin was 17, and he and his family lived in another house on the farm. The three of us came up with the brilliant idea that we should have a BB gun fight. I was the brash, smart-ass youngest, and I said it should be those two against me. We put on layers and layers of clothes so the high-powered BB rifles wouldn't cause too much pain, and never thinking to protect our heads. We started the battle, those two shooting at me and me at them. I hunkered down next to the barn, popping up the fire off a few shots whenever I could. They ducked behind a boat on a trailer rig 40 feet away. I still see what happened next in slow motion. My brother popped his head up to see where I was just as I looked out to shoot them. I took aim, pulled the trigger, and heard dead silence. Everything stopped. Then I heard a scream. I ran over to see my brother's eye dripping blood and mucus, staining his hands in his Dallas Cowboys jersey. I had accidentally shot my brother in the eye. It may have been an accident, but stupidity and recklessness was the cause. My brother had surgery and lost his eye, and to this day he wears a prosthesis. I had spent many days replaying the event thinking if only we had not been playing with BB guns, or if we had worn protective head coverings, or if I had pointed the gun a few centimeters in another direction, things would have been different. Mistakes are decisions we have control over. Even though I know what happened with my brother was a freak accident, I wish I had made choices that would have led to a different outcome. And I hope that in your life, you will make the best choices and avoid mistakes. It is often hard to separate an accident, something you have little or no control over, from a mistake, a more conscious act where you have the information to make the right decision, but you choose to either ignore the information or knowingly make a wrong decision. Mistakes are decisions we have control over, and you can make a mistake in an instant, which is why it's important to know who you are and what you stand for before you find yourself in a situation where you make a wrong decision. Choosing to drop out of school is a mistake. We all know the consequences, and yet every year hundreds of thousands of kids choose to drop out of school. Having unprotected sex is a mistake too, and you know the consequences, yet you choose to do it anyway. A positive, responsible decision is to stay in school and figure out a way to make it work for you, like finding another school if the one you are currently enrolled in doesn't fit with you, or even changing your classes in the school you attend. And a positive, responsible decision about sex is to wait until you are ready and prepared to be responsible. Just because you love something and want to be successful at it doesn't mean you are immune to making mistakes in that area. As you know, I love acting, but I can even point out times where I have made some big mistakes in my career. For example, it took a long time for me to realize that old adage my grandmother would say actually holds true over time. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Sometimes you have to be happy with where you are and what you have. All we really have is this moment right now. So we have to be careful not to walk away from blessings, thinking that there's another blessing around the corner. In 2001, I was doing a successful run on the play in New York City called Blue, co-starring Felicia Rashad, who played my mother. We played the sold out houses nearly every night. And one day, about 3 months into the run, I got a call from my agent who told me about this movie, 8 Mile, that Eminem was going to do. He said that it was going to be the biggest movie of the year, and there was a role that was perfect for me. I auditioned for Curtis Hanson, the director of 8 Mile in New York City. And shortly thereafter, they told my agent they wanted to fly me to Detroit to work with Eminem for 2 days. I told them it was impossible because I got only 1 day off a week from the play, and the theater hadn't hired an understudy. My agent called me back and said, "Are you crazy? This movie is going to be huge. It will make you a star. If you had to lead the play, so be it." And they said they wanted to make a deal for me to be in a movie, and that when I went to Detroit, I would sign my contract. But they wouldn't officially hire me unless I came to work with Eminem for 2 days. I thought, this is a huge opportunity. So I went to the artistic director of the theater and said I would be leaving the show. He was hurt and upset, but rather than close the show, they decided to train someone to replace me. On September 9th, 2001, I flew to Detroit, Michigan. All day on the 10th, Eminem and I rehearsed scenes from the movie. It went great. I was charged and excited. The next morning was supposed to be the final screen test. As I was getting ready to do my best work, the phone in my hotel room rang and someone said, "Screen test is canceled." I asked why. They said, "Haven't you watched the news?" And I said, "No, I've been focusing on prepping for the screen test." They just said, "Turn on the TV." We all know what happened on September 11th, 2001. I, like everyone else, sat watching the TV. Sitting in my hotel room, I really didn't know what to do. I was in Detroit alone and all the planes were grounded indefinitely. So I decided to make my way to one of the car rental places at the airport. I rented a car and began a miserable drive by myself from Detroit to Los Angeles. A day and a half into the drive, as my cell phone was about to die, I got a call from my agent. He said I wouldn't be getting the role in 8 Mile. The studio decided to go with a bigger name. The drive was perhaps the most miserable and lonely drive of my life for many reasons, not the least being the devastation of what had happened on September 11th. Not only did I fail to get the role in 8 Mile, I had walked away from a wonderful and successful play in New York City and had disappointed a group of people I respected at the theater. I felt like I made the dumbest mistake anyone could make. Rather than appreciating what I had, I was just looking for the next best thing. What I learned in that oftentimes, the best thing is what you have right now. So enjoy all the great things in your life right now and don't feel that you have to rush into anything that may lead to a mistake. It seems a recurring theme in the letters we have exchanged have been your mistake, you're making the transition from boyhood to manhood. It is important you understand that there is no age associated with that transition, meaning there are plenty of 40-year-olds still living in the boyhood phase of their life. They make childish choices and do not take on the responsibilities of manhood. They are 40 and haven't even made the transition to being a grown-up. On the other hand, there are some young adults I met who have been forced to make transitions into manhood much earlier than they wanted to or should have had to, as early as 12 or 13 years old. I would prefer that you choose not to have sex at this point in your life, but that's your choice to make. I have repeatedly said I will always have your back, and I'm not going to disappoint. I'm not going to disappear just because you didn't follow my advice. But listen very closely to what I'm about to tell you. If you are going to choose to participate in adult or manhood-based activities like having sex or driving a car, then you have to be responsible in your choices regarding these activities. Like I've said to you before, no matter what you choose to do in your life, if you are going to do it, then do it the right way. Sex requires adult, responsible choices. So no more mistakes of a sexual nature, please. And on that note, now that you know all my business, I'm going to go because I've invited this girl over for dinner tonight. And no, we are not having sex. Men and women can hang out without having to fool around. You heard? Hit me back when you can. Grace, peace, and blessings. Your friend. So now this is another letter he's going to answer. Hill, my friend told me about AIDS. It is not really a big deal anymore since I'm not part of a high-risk group. I'm not gay or a drug user. Do I really need to worry about AIDS? Here's his response. I am not an expert on HIV and AIDS. However, I do know someone who is. I'm going to forward you I'm going to forward your email to Phil Wilson, Executive Director of the Black AIDS Institute. Here is his response. I'm glad you've raised this question. Like your friends, there are many people who don't think AIDS is a big deal anymore. Unfortunately, they are wrong. You don't have to be gay or a drug user to get infected with HIV. HIV transmission is really easy to understand. AIDS is a blood-borne disease. So if you are sexually active with another person and that person has HIV, you are at risk if you don't protect yourself. And the only way for you to know if the other person is affected is for the two of you to get tested for HIV. And that's where I would recommend you, and that's what I would recommend you do. You might want to tell your friend that over half of the overall new AIDS cases in America are among African Americans. And most important, Black males make up 56% of the new AIDS cases among young people. So if you choose to be sexually active and you really don't want to worry about HIV, you should make sure you are protected every time. And that was that. The next part that we're going to go into tomorrow is part 4, dreams and aspirations, making it happen. The next letter is letter 11, and it is titled Dreaming Big. Quote that it starts off with is from Steven Spielberg. He says, I dream for a living. I like that. So does anyone have anything that they want to talk about? They want to add any of that, anything that that sparked with them in regards to the lesson or the reading?
And not much. It was a great reading, motivational, and made you think about some of the questions and decisions and the mindset you had growing up. But it was not much besides that. It was good.
Okay. What about the lesson? You got anything as far as the lesson, anything that sparked your interest or anything like that?
I mean, it's always good to be reminded to be specific. And then, yeah, there's plenty of times I found myself, like you said, praying um, and like, I mean, I feel like open is not the right word, but just not being specific.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of times it's, I don't know if it's necessarily lack of faith, but like, just being open because you don't want to be disappointed, or being open
Yep.
because you're afraid of being rewarded the way you was expecting to be rewarded. But yeah, it felt good to be reminded to be specific on that kind of stuff. Good.
Yes, sir. And you know, it's crazy thing you said it because there's a lot of people who feel that way. Here's the thing. Yahushua, who some people call Jesus, he said, ask and it shall be given. Like whatever you ask for, you will get it. So if you're an individual who don't think you're going to get what you ask for, do you really believe what you say you believe? Like that's how I look at it. Like if the individual who I say I follow, Christ, told me a directive and I don't believe the directive, then do I believe what I say I believe? That's how you got to look at it. So is this really what I believe, or is this just something that was given to me? And that's why it's
Right.
very important to, really get down to, and then that'll help open up a whole nother can of worms and then really get down, okay, well, what is it do I really believe? And then you can start unpacking some of those subconscious thoughts that you have in your head and some of those conflicting beliefs that you hold to.
Yeah, it was like I talked about a little bit the other day. Was as far as my issue of prayer and what I was working on was, man, I was always trying to plan out my prayers to make it seem like it was this, this well thought out thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it was kind of an insult because I wasn't praying in the moment. I was praying with this pre-planned prayer. So that's why it bothered me when I got called out in the moment, because I was like, man, I wasn't ready because I was focused on relying on me to come up with the words in the moment, instead of just having that conversation, or just having that prayer and trusting that the words are going to come to me as I need them. So it's more or less the same thing when I'm not being specific. And what I'm asking for is, in my mind, it's kind of a lack of confidence, or a lack of belief, because I'm relying more on me at that point. So yeah.
That's good. Good observation. Good awareness. And that way you can grow from that. And then it'll take that fear, because now it's like, well, I can't be afraid of being put on the spot. Like in order for me to exercise my full faith, I can't allow myself to be fearful about being put on the spot. So that's definitely what that'll, help exercise even more. Mikaya, you got anything you want to add?
Nah. I definitely enjoyed the like the lesson more so because, like, of course you tying it into the practical things. So definitely, like, even coming from like the script, different parts of the script, as far as even down to like the making the salat, preparing yourself, different things like that. Like, that's real necessary. Like the time or place, clothing, different stuff like that. So that's just like whenever I'm doing the teaching or anything like that, I make sure, I got my kufi on, or, I'm presentable, my mitri on, I got my garments on, I'm fully covered, different things like that. I make sure like that I've said a quick prayer before it. And that's why I tell a lot of people, like, now when I've actually like come to pray, like I pray like with family and different stuff like that. But for the most part, even with me and my family, like we pray like individually. Like I don't care like to really tell my prayers or however the case may be, like for other people, or even have other people pray over me. Cause like I'm different about that, man, like with the energy and all. So it's like, it's personal. Like I want everybody to have their own personal relationship with the Most High. So it's just like, even with me and my family and all, like, so it's like, even whenever we pray, we do certain things like that. It's like, yeah, do it the way that feels comfortable for you. But at the same time, like you got to understand, it is rules to it. You know what I mean? How to do it. You know what I mean? Just being able to present yourself for the Most High. Like you said, I even like the fact that you went into the sacrifices and the baptism aspect of it, because like knowing the origins of things, like it matters.
Yes, sir.
So, like that's what helped benefit me in this path. Like, just with everything I do, like I understand it from like, okay, well, the origins of it, like why was it instituted? Like what was the practice of it? Like what's the practicality of it? So,
yes, sir.
like I said, man, I definitely enjoyed it.
Yes, sir.
It's like once we get back and rooted in all those things, getting us that foundation again as a people, we'll learn how to build with each other on just the basic things.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're right. Stanford, you got anything you want to add? Appreciate that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't got too much to add. I mean, just help me, learn a little bit more about praying and stuff, you know what I mean? But I
Yes,
haven't,
sir.
I fell off of church for a long time and stuff. I've been, going back and stuff, but it's just helping me out a whole lot, learning new things and ways to pray. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing. And I'm glad you brought that up. And anybody who watching this at a later date, I need y'all to understand, like, prayer and church are not synonymous. Like, prayer is just your communication with the divine spirit. Like, that you don't have to be in church to do that. That's not connected to church. Church is not the authority over that. Like, you are the authority over that in your own essence. So that's why I'm glad that you brought it up and you said that, because a lot of people, they feel like a certain structure is the authority over the spiritual realm, and they're not. But I'm glad that you were able to learn that, so that way you know how to do it for yourself. Because at the end of the day, everything is for themselves. And if we even going back to scripture, like you going back to, like, for instance, Job. Like, Job wasn't sitting in no building when he was making sacrifices and doing stuff for his family. Job was not. Job was the individual. He was the head. He didn't have to go through it to nobody else. That was him. Jacob, Isaac, Abraham. They didn't have to go through it to nobody else. That was them. So, and if you read scripture, and I want to touch on this real quick, and though I'm talking about scripture, like, these are universal practices, people. Like, this ain't just for, I know people feel like Christianity has a stronghold on these types of things. No, like, these are universal practices. Like, you putting your intentions out there and you talking to the spiritual realm, you don't have to be a Christian to do that. Like, one word for it is prayer. Like, but there's many other words for it. But you, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh man. Oh, let it come back to me. It was a good point too I was about to make. But yeah, so how you make, I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, how you make, you make sure you're making the prayer and you're doing it so that way it works best for you and your family and in your life. And then you stay connected to the Most High in that manner. So yeah, definitely stay in it, bro. And we here for you, here to keep pushing each other. So that way we can all achieve what it is that we're trying to achieve. So appreciate everybody being on tonight. Appreciate everybody who's watching later. You all have a wonderful evening. I'll talk to you, you gentlemen later. We got tomorrow, so we got 4 more days. So I will be seeing you all tomorrow.
All right, bro. Tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
everybody.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All right.
Yo, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.